So over the last couple of months, I've been testing out a bunch of 40 series graphics cards ranging from the 4060 Ti all the way to the one we're looking at today, the RTX 4080 Super. And to briefly sum this up, the 4070 and 4070 Ti Super were both great, but if you want a GPU that will allow you to run games at 4K without a worry, then this is going to be it. But let's take a look at it. So the Gigabyte RTX 4080 Super Aero OC has got 16 GB of GDDR6X VRAM, 10,240 CUDA cores, 4th gen Tensor cores with DLSS 3, as well as 3rd gen RT cores for great ray tracing performance. The clock speeds are also slightly higher compared to the reference card at 2,595 MHz compared to the 2,550 on the reference card. So in terms of design, the RTX 4080 Super Aero OC almost looks like the older brother or father of the RTX 4060 Ti that I'm currently running in my white PC build, and I honestly love the color and the look of these Aero cards a lot. It has this grey metal backplate with a few vent holes for air to pass through, then it has this 3-fan design at the bottom that spins in alternate directions to increase the airflow pressure for better cooling, and then if you look at the side you have the Aero logo that is also the only RGB on this entire setup. Now I like the fact that these GPUs aren't flooded with RGB, but I would have liked some RGB around the fans just to light up the bottom of my case as well, but it isn't a massive deal breaker for me as I prefer less RGB anyway. But if you are looking to build a PC with a lot of RGB, this is something to keep in mind or just at least plan around. Then if you take a look at the switches and connector, you will see that you have an OC and silent switch that you can simply toggle to whatever side you want it to be on. But of course, if you want performance, then the OC is your side. And then in terms of power connector, you will find an included splitter cable in the box that needs to connect to the GPU itself. And then from there, it connects to 3 8-pin power connectors with a suggested power supply of 850 watts. And then lastly, they also have an included anti-sag bracket, which is great to just help keep this behemoth of a GPU from sagging and potentially causing damage either to itself or to your motherboard. In terms of connections, they do have 3 DisplayPort 1.4 ports, as well as 1 HDMI 2.1 port, which once again is fairly important to know beforehand when using multiple monitors, but at least most newer monitors should support display. But if you have more than one monitor that only connects via HDMI, then you might have to look at picking up an adapter or at least a special cable. As mentioned before, the RTX 4080 Super does come equipped with 4th gen Tensor cores and 3rd gen ray tracing cores to help give you the best performance in-game. And then if you are a streamer, broadcaster, or just do a lot of video recordings, it also has AV1 encoding thanks to the 8th gen NVENC encoder. So live streaming is honestly a breeze with this card. And from doing a bunch of test streams and recordings, they all held up really nicely and ran smoothly without any drops frames in most titles that I've tested. Now, a while back I did test the RTX 4070 as well as the 4070 Ti Super, and I thought those cards were beasts when it came to gaming performance, but I was honestly blown away by the results of the RTX 4080 Super. Now for my setup, I am running the i7-14700K, 32 GB of 4000 MHz RAM, and my channel isn't hard focused on benchmarking and comparing, mainly because I don't have access to a lot of GPUs. Plus there are a bunch of other channels out there that do a lot of those in-depth reviews already. But what I can say is that from playing newer and older titles to editing videos and everything in between, this setup just took everything I threw at it and didn't even flinch. Most games I played while using this setup, I would always just keep on 4K and it would run absolutely smoothly. So if your goals are to play games in 2K and 4K, then this is a really solid contender for that. But at the same time, I feel that that shouldn't be a major shock since this is the RTX 4080 Super. There isn't really a lot of GPUs better than this one, so it should be able to hold its own when it comes to 2K and 4K gaming. Plus, the RTX 4070 Ti Super was already a beast when it came to 4K gaming, so if you perhaps want something that is slightly cheaper or just an alternative, then that is also a good card for you to look at. But then if you are just someone looking to build a PC to play games at 1080p, then I can actually suggest getting the RTX 4060 Ti like the one I have in my build. It looks very similar to the RTX 4080 Super Aero if the 4080 went outside in the cold and shrunk a bit, but it performs really well in 1080p, but then it also still holds its own in 2K and even 4K in very select few titles, but it can. This is also something to keep in mind for when you are reaching the cap of your budget. As for me, it is better to spend more on CPU, motherboard, RAM, and PSU, as those are the items you usually keep longer, and then rather save on your GPU at first and then upgrade to something like the 4080 Super later down the line once you have saved up a little bit more. Now, if you have saved up or you're just looking at building a beast of a PC, then the RTX 4080 Super is a great GPU for that. I also really love the color and design of the Aero OC, but Gigabyte does have other options, but all of them tend to be on the gray color anyway. But the Windforce is a darker gray, so it does work better in darker setups, while this one is perfect for those white PC builds. So as my final thoughts on this, if this video has sort of given you an idea of if you would like to buy this, I would still highly suggest looking at other reviewers or comparison videos out there if you still aren't too sure. But if you just want to play whatever game you want without wondering if you'll get good frames, then this might actually be the solution for you, if it fits your budget, of course. But then, as always, until next time, cheers.